2, 3.
Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall. I got the grit of the underdog. I'm stronger than you think, I can do this on my own. There's a difference between loneliness and doing this alone.
Welcome to the DC Music Rocks podcast, presented by Capitol Groove Collective, elevating the sound, voices, and music of the DMV to the world stage, one conversation at a time. Here we will highlight the wildly talented DMV musicians that we believe are paving the way in the Washington metropolitan area through diversity of genre, gender, identity, and community. Today we're going to be talking with Kemi Adegoroye and what inspires her, why her vision and mission includes so many different creative endeavors, and what she's been up to during the pandemic and what fans can expect next. Now, how are you doing today, Kemi?
I am doing really great. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to you, to meet you. I feel like we've orbited in the same kind of spaces for a while now, so it's nice to be talking face to face, Zoom to Zoom.
Zoom to Zoom, that's right. Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like we've been passing each other without ever having the opportunity to get a formal meeting. What I love is knowing that there's this kind of attitude out there where we both know that we're really excited to see what each other are doing, without ever having had that chance to engage each other yet. And so I feel like there's a lot of that happens in the DC community, not just musically, but in a lot of different creative outlets, which you have your hands in quite a few different creative outlets. So would you just kind of introduce yourself to somebody? Maybe they're getting to know you for the first time. Give us a little bit of background about how you came into music, but also how it came to encompass so many of these other creative explorations.
Yes, no, I'm happy to. So I am, the best way to define myself is a multi-hyphenate artist and professional. And I mainly refer to myself as a musician slash singer-songwriter, an actress, a writer, and a producer. Those tend to be the four main buckets of creative work that I occupy. And I have my own production company slash record label called 13 Roses Productions that I started a couple of years ago. And I also am a member and the front woman of the DC jazz and soul band Terra Firma, which is amazing. I play with three other incredible musicians who also are based in the DC metro area. I have a history and a background in acting, and I also run a digital startup that I created with a friend called Alveo Creative. And we are a digital startup that provides support, concrete information, and actionable resources to independent artists in multiple disciplines all over the world. So we create original content, articles from ourselves and others who write with us, and interviews with artists from around the world in various different disciplines and practices and industries, and at different stages of their careers. We've interviewed Tony Award winners and Broadway stars and Emmy Award winners, but we've also interviewed people who just started out and are learning the ropes like, we are in many ways, and just trying to provide that concrete, actionable information that's more than just the stereotypical follow your dreams and follow your heart and your dreams will come true that, so often people are greeted with when they're trying to figure out how to file their taxes when they don't get regular W-2s.
Well, to me, I feel like the real takeaway there is, aren't all businesses really just learning what to do no matter what stage they're in?
Yes, I would agree. Based on personal experience, yes.
It's a constantly evolving landscape, technologically and personally. And then especially the pandemic threw us for a loop. They say that the music industry grew like 5 years in 5 months or something to that effect.
That feels very accurate.
Well, speaking of music industry, last year you released in February you had released The Man Who Stole the Moon.
Yes.
And we had the pleasure of covering that on Alchemical Records, which is also funny because you're working with a writer of mine, and it's still weird not having a chance to connect till now. Now, you have said that it's kind of inspired by Despicable Me, which I love. And then I noticed a correlation because my wife is really into science fiction books. And so The Man Who Stole the Moon is also the title of a Robert Heinlein novel, which is about a fake moon landing. Um, was that something at all that played in the song? Did you have to like pick and choose like what your priority was or?
Right. No, it's funny. The original inspiration was Despicable Me in the sense that I was watching the movie for the very first time with a friend of mine in December 2013. And there was the line in the movie where the main character, who wants to be known as the greatest villain of all time, says, "I want to be known as the man who stole the moon." And he meant that literally in that case.
Right.
But it made me think of Judy Garland's "The Man That Got Away," like some really, intense torch song that about a woman who's dealing with the loss of her partner and how devastating it was for her. So that was the original inspiration for it. But when every once in a while, especially as a creative, when you're trying to name something, or even a business person, and you're looking into branding and how would you market it and what does it look like, and also just has someone done this before? I did Google "The Man Who Stole the Moon," and there weren't that many people, but I think I did see that science fiction piece, and I hadn't read it, but I did read about it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I feel like it's not too out there to have "The Man Who Stole the Moon" and then this one out there at the same time. But there was also "The Man Who Sold the Moon." There were just one or two vague references to men doing something with moons.
Right.
But I felt like I could slot my song in there pretty quickly.
And then I always think of this like early film called A Trip to the Moon, where they shoot a rocket into the moon. It gets stuck in the eye. It's very theatrical.
Right.
It feels like part theater uh, production and part film production. So it's a really unique combination.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I loved the song, loved the video. I am impressed by your patience in because I think that as artists, sometimes we very quickly talk about things like as they're happening. Oh, this is inspiring right now, and then because it takes time to develop, that some colleagues or fans are like wondering, is this really ever going to be a thing? And so you had written 300 songs before getting to the spot where you were like, I've got 12 right that I want to release on an album, which is available now because it came out February of 2021. So congratulations on
Thank you.
achieving that success. Um, so tell us a little bit about that process. Like what what is the filtration unit that you went to get from 300 to what is it 12 or
It's almost 300. I think I'm at like 275. And then on the EP there are 5, including "The Man Who Stole the Moon." So yes, I definitely had to narrow it down.
okay.
And of those 275, I always say I have almost 300 songs or song ideas. And so a lot of the way in which I write can be very piecemeal. So literally just yesterday, I was writing down like, oh, this lyric might be cool to play with someday, or I like this sentence, and I filed it away. And then I might come back to it or pick and choose once I'm actually creating a whole piece. But yeah, with this one, um, I have almost 300 songs or song ideas. So I was able to rule out a lot of them because they were very much still in development, like literally just a title or an idea or a lyric, and are nowhere near done to being finished. But I do have several other like complete songs or almost complete songs. And it was definitely, sorry, I'm going to pause because I hear an ambulance in the background.
I can't guarantee that there won't be like a tiny child screaming in the room behind me at some point.
That's totally fine. So I feel like children are fine, but I don't want people getting alarmed at an ambulance in the background.
That's the worst when you're listening to headphones and it's just like, where's that siren coming from?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I think it's done. I'll restart. So yeah, so of those almost 300 songs slash song ideas, I was able to filter out the ones that are still very much in development and unformed, whether it's just a title or a lyric or an idea. But what was left were definitely like several songs that I really love that are either finished or almost finished. And it was hard to pick. I'm famous for cramming way too many songs into set lists and all sorts of things. I'll be like, we have an hour long set. We can cover like 50 songs. And my friends will be like, Mm. If we do like 2 seconds of each one, sure, but not all 50. So it definitely was challenging, especially for an EP, which is, for those who don't know, an EP stands for extended play and is traditionally shorter than an album. So it literally could not be more than 6 songs at the very most. But yeah, so when I looked at the songs I wanted to pick, I was trying to figure out what story I was trying to tell, and also just pick out the ones that really stood out to me, the ones that I'd been, you know, almost fantasizing about doing for years, and was just so excited to get out there. And these 5 are some of the earliest songs I had finished, and the songs I waited the longest to like have out in the world. So, and also just some of my favorite songs that I've ever written that I felt could do well once released. And so that it just made sense once I thought about it that way to kind of craft the story in the EP and pick the songs that fit that story.
So are you sitting on EP number 2 and just like figuring out when to time that one?
I mean, I won't lie. Like, I'm a very forward facing type of person. I don't know if everybody's like this, but I feel like whenever I've done something, my tendency is to kind of be like, that was cool. Now what's next? And so I'm always very much like, okay, I did this thing that's really cool, but what's going to happen next? And so I've always been thinking like, well, what would EP2 look like, or a full album? So I definitely have some songs. I actually, yesterday, I was just doing some work, and I remembered this one song I'd written that I am obsessed with that is not out yet. And I just kind of sang it through for the first time in a while, just because I've been so in EP land that I hadn't like thought about my other songs. So I sang it through, and I was just like, oh God, I just have this deep desire to get in the studio like today and record it, because I think it's such a great song and I really want to release it. But as a musician and a producer, it takes time to pull everyone together, especially for the music that I create. Like, I'm not Jacob Collier where I'm a one woman band, or Ed Sheeran where it's like a guitar and a loop pedal. Like, the band that played on my EP is about like 11, 12 people strong. And so that's just a lot of musicians to get together to play like even just one song. So it's timing is definitely a thing, but I am very excited to figure out what comes out next once I have time and the ability to coordinate with everyone.
You touched on a really important point about like planning for what's next, but also like having something and sitting on it, right? Giving it time to be completed and let that become a part of the release cycle, right? So
Yeah.
you had released Man Who Stole the Moon, and that was a year ago, and then now we're getting the full EP, and so you really let everything that needed to happen to develop The Man Who Stole the Moon, and let that be the track that really led the way for releasing the EP. Um, do you have another song on the EP that is going to kind of carry us into the after?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of my favorite things in terms of responses I've gotten for the EP, which all of the responses have been incredible. The number of my friends and fans, I guess, who have sent me images of their babies dancing to the music is just, my heart like shatters every time because it's so
Fan
lovely.
video.
Honestly, like if I get enough videos, I definitely would 1,000% do one. But I feel like I love all of the songs on the EP and they all mean so much to me. But the 2 songs that people like consistently are in love with tend to be Rock Steady, Be My Rock, and Drinking Poison. And it's funny because those are definitely the 2 songs I'm like the most excited to play live in front of an audience. Just because they just lend themselves to audience participation and just a whole vibe in a room. Like, when you're at a show and like they play this one song and you're just like, oh, this is about to be an experience. Like, this is about to be like, you had to be there. You feel it in every part of your body. Like, it's just like, it's amazing. And so I'm really, really excited to play those 2 live for people. I'm excited to film things for them and really like play around with them in the future. So that might be what happens facing forward in terms of the music. And I love that people love those songs because I wrote them to be fun and engaging and interesting and passionate. And it's great that people are feeling that as they hear it themselves.
It sounds like a win-win. Whichever one fans gravitate towards will be fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. It'll be and people will get a teaser of what a live performance will look like at the release show that's happening on February 26th. It'll be live streamed and broadcast live. So there won't be an audience in attendance, but it will be a full live band, like a 6-person band plus me on stage. They're all people that played on the EP, and we're all really good friends with each other. So people will literally be able to tune in to us jamming and just having fun with friends. And it's just going to be such an amazing vibe. And even though we won't have a live audience, this is giving people around the world literally the opportunity to tune in real time and see it happening and see the songs played live for the very first time. So I'm super excited for that.
That's very exciting. Well, it is a global music scene and a global creative community as well. But one of the things that I've always been fascinated with as a DIYer, that when you are recording and releasing your own music, and then you find that there's all these other processes to it, from not just the engineering side, but the artwork side, and then there's also how the art sits into the medium. If it's going to be on CD or vinyl or on a T-shirt, or that. So there's all of this artwork associated with it, and then all of the writing, not just the songwriting, but writing the bios and the press releases and all of these supporting materials and things like that. So that to me is a tie-in to where in Alveo Creative you have all of these expressions of relationships that you're building. Is that by nature of like, hey, I'm doing music, but I've come across all these other people that have these other passions, and you find some ways to be involved in that as well? Or how did you get to just making music into saying, hey, there's all these other components about creativity that we have to explore?
Yeah, I think you bring up a really interesting point in what was part of the inspiration for Alveo Creative. I would say the original inspiration came from being a multi-hyphenate performer myself. Like I trained in acting and musical theater in college and in my background, and have been doing it my whole life. But I also write, whether it was for Alveo Creative or other articles for different organizations or just for myself. I have always loved photography and visual arts. I don't have the patience for them. I feel like there's an inherent patience you need for visual art, as opposed to performing arts, where it's typically immediate gratification once you've done something on stage, which I think I need. But I just love so many different art forms. And I also, because I've been in the arts literally my whole life, I know so many different people in the arts, like areas of art that I have never pursued myself. I have very good friends that, have made it their lives. And it's the same with my business partner, Claire, who is a computer programmer by trade, but also a very serious dancer, Latin dancer, and has competed in competitions around the world and has been doing it for, well over a decade. And so we appreciated, because we cross into so many different areas ourselves, that there are certain industry standards that apply in one arena that don't apply in another. And then it was interesting to kind of learn the differences between them, especially because, to your point, they do interact so much. And I think that's where your point comes in about being an independent artist or a creative and having to wear so many hats. When you are someone who's working yourself with either no team or a minimal team, you're never just the talent. Like, I would show up to recording sessions and also be the hairstylist and the social media coordinator and the agent and the business manager and attorney and project manager. Like, there are just so many elements of doing this one job, and I think it's invaluable to have that information and that background, because even if you do become this, talent with this massive team and a label and people that do everything for you, it helps to be knowledgeable so you can take control and keep control of your own career. And I definitely felt this within the theater and acting world as well. Like, I would audition for shows and you're waiting on a casting director and a team to pick you, and a writer to even write something, or a producer to produce something that you can even be in. And I always just enjoyed, I'm just going to put something together myself and do it. But you have to have all this background knowledge into the various different work streams that fall under that umbrella. And so when you combine that with the fact that I also had access to all this practical knowledge that I was gaining through different experiences that I felt people in the arts world needed to know, it made sense to create Alvea Creative in the first place, but also to make it multidisciplinary, because I think creatives around the world struggle with similar problems and different problems. And I didn't see a place online where I, as a multi-hyphenate artist, either get all my information or get leads to information for other people. And so that's what we wanted to create, a hub where different people could meet each other and like collaborate, but also get concrete information that they could use in their own careers.
How does being situated in Washington, D.C., like support all of those efforts? Because I feel that globally, Washington, D.C. is more known as as a military-esque location or as a political location. And so we don't necessarily get as much affection for the just the abundance of arts and the creative talent inside of the DMV scene.
Right.
Can you tell a little bit about your perspective and kind of the
Yeah.
hyphenated creativity?
Well, it's interesting because so I grew up in this area, and because I've been in the arts my whole life, I have been, doing different things in performances in the DC area, had friends baked into, performances in the area, and have been attending all kinds of shows and performances and exhibits and displays in DC my whole life. And so it never crossed my mind growing up that DC wasn't um, a hub for artists and for artists in a lot of different disciplines. It wasn't really until I left the area, for schooling and everything, when, people would be surprised, like, oh, I didn't know there was like that much theater or that much music in DC. And I was like, we have the Kennedy Center, right? One of
Right.
the largest and most significant venues in the country. But okay, it's just, it was just
And
always
the
interesting.
Smithsonian produces a
Yeah,
large number of musical events as well.
exactly. I mean, you could literally go on and on. Wolf Trap in Virginia, Only Theater in Maryland. Like, there are a lot of places. Even once again, as because a lot of my interactions with DC on an artist basis in my early life was based in theater. But as someone who would be on Backstage, the website where they literally nationally and even internationally post things about gigs and opportunities and productions all over the world. The countless posts would be for DC and be for National Theater, the Warner Theater, or the Kennedy Center, or Folgers, not Folgers, Ford's, not Folgers, but
More
Ford's
coffee,
Theater.
please.
Yes, exactly. Folgers commercials. But there were just so many different placements for the DC metro area. Like, people can build full careers here. And so I've always appreciated it. What's been really, really awesome for me as an artist is discovering the efforts to build the same awareness and infrastructure in DC that you see in places in New York and in LA. And that was also part of the reason why my business partner and I felt compelled to launch Alvea Creative, because we feel like when you're moving to a new community or you're starting in a new industry, like, there are a lot of these inbuilt communities that you won't be aware of until you've invested a lot of time and you've tried to meet the right people that might lead you into the right people. And it can be so challenging. And through observing the artists that I'm fans of and also friends in different cities, I definitely was aware of very united communities in New York, very united communities in LA, in Austin, Nashville, Atlanta. Like, there were just certain places where it's like, oh, those people, those are the New Yorkers, or those are the Atlanta residents, etc. And then, it's only been about almost a year and a half since or actually maybe about a year and a half now, since I decided to commit more of my time to building my music career and my artist career than I had previously. I'd always been doing it, in addition to many other projects. But a year and a half ago, I decided I'm really going to pursue it aggressively, more so than I had before. And that began my journey to embed myself in the DC music scene, which I don't think I had really fully done before. I had kind of floated on the outskirts of it for several years, but never really gotten into it. And I've been so amazed and appreciative of the fact that I have been so welcome. Like, it has only been a year and a half, but I've gotten to meet people like you guys and the Capital Groove Collective and the DC Music Summit team, and various other like pretty major heavy hitters in the DC music scene. And what I love about those people is, and what you guys are doing is that you are, I think that's the thing that's been missing, the infrastructure. Like, you go to New York and there are certain things that you can start with that will help lead you into building a name for yourself in that city. And it's the same with LA and other places. But I think DC, there's parts of the infrastructure in different places, but it's not as unified and doesn't have the awareness or visibility that a lot of other cities have. And so I think it's actually a really exciting time. I think it existed before, and maybe due to various other reasons it maybe dissipated a little or became less visible. But what we have right now at the forefront of the DC music scene are people who are really passionate, not just about their own careers, but about making people aware that DC is a hub, a flagship, a place to go if you're trying to build a career filled with unbelievable talent who are going to change the face of the art scenes around the world.
I agree. I always felt like that was the component that was missing, because music is a piece of the entertainment industry. And so when you start to look at that, you're a member of the entertainment industry, and also so are all of these other creative outlets, there's really no reason to feel like you have to be locked in and be like, I'm a musician, which was kind of backwards compatible for me, because I set out to prove that I can make a living as a musician. That was my jump start. So I think that the more that all of the creative arts are brought closer together, I think that we'll be able to show that arts hub that does exist here. And I've been excited to see it. And I'm glad that you were so there welcomed as a member of the music community in such a short period of time, because I think that really shows the intentions of the region. Just like there are amazing intentions coming out of the DC scene in music and other creative outlets.
Yes, definitely agreed.
What about um what about not the music and not the Alveo creative side, but what do you do? What do you like to do for fun when you're not stuck behind closed doors for a global pandemic? What do you other areas do you like to explore?
Oh, it's so funny. I feel like, I mean, it's the interesting thing because when you're doing multiple things, which I'm sure you're aware of, and things that you genuinely are passionate about and enjoy, it's kind of a crossover because you're like, yes, I'm doing this as a profession, and sometimes it's not as fun, but I still would rather be doing this than anything else. And so, half the time it is just like going to a jam with friends, or I love, oh my gosh, I love going to concerts, especially concerts with people that I truly love. And I was going to so many, of course, before the pandemic. So
You want
that's
to
always,
name drop one or two
oh,
like fun
yes.
bands or fun venues that you like to check out?
I saw Lawrence the Band at Union Stage, and that was phenomenal. They are an insane band of absolutely incredible artists at such a young age who have just been killing it for years, and they're so fun live. So it was great to see them. I got to meet some of them afterwards. That was really fun. The band Scary Pockets, which I love, is this LA-based like funk band, soul and funk band, and they just take covers of things and make them funky and add soul with all these different artists. So that was amazing. I saw Sam Smith at the Capitol Center. Oh my gosh, there are just so many people. And there were so many other people I was supposed to see last year. I was supposed to see Jess Glynn and there were several other artists that I was planning. I think Shoshana Bean might have been coming through. These are all just artists that I've been obsessed with, and some of whom actually inspired for the record EP. So it was, been exciting to see them, and would have been even more exciting. And what was great about the seeing Lawrence and Scary Pockets, I saw them at Union Stage in about 2018, I think, 2018, 2019. And they were so incredible. And then in January 2020, I was able to go back to Union Stage and perform for the first time at an album release show for the local group SNRG, Some Never Really Get. And that was just really surreal for me because I was backstage and they had all the artists who signed the wall backstage. And I got to sign my name. And I was like, oh my gosh, I like there are nationally and internationally touring musicians I'm obsessed with who have their names here. And now mine is too. And so that's also just another shout out to music venues, that you have these massive venues that are hosting internationally renowned artists, but they still make space for all these local artists who they also appreciate and homegrown talent. And that's just really incredible. It's not guaranteed in every place you go. So I just, I love that I was able to have that moment at Union Stage and really appreciate it.
Yeah, that is really funny, and to have that happen in so many different venues and then there's just like always that extra name that pops out, and you're like, oh my gosh, they played here!
Exactly.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Well,
it's amazing.
are you developing music now, like with Terra Firma, or is that mostly to just celebrate the music that inspires you all? I see a lot of the videos that you have available are just like some great covers. And are you trying to like do your own thing with it? Or are you trying to make it more authentic? What's your vision there with Terra Firma? Especially
Yeah,
now
no,
that you've got the weight of your EP out there.
yes. No, it's been Terra Firma has been such an amazing experience because, simultaneously while working on my own solo music and figuring out what is my brand and what is my story as an artist by myself, it's been really, really fun collaborating with three other people who have such, different tastes and stories and backgrounds. And we definitely love playing covers. It's been a great way to get to know each other, how we play together, to get to know our musical styles and kind of what we gravitate to, like as a whole. So we've really genuinely enjoyed playing our versions or our takes on different covers. But the goal is definitely to have original music. I mean, these are the three musicians I play with: Josh Jenkins on piano, Benjamin Rickoff on bass, and Angel Bethay on drums. Like, they are unbelievable. I like every time I'm in rehearsal with them, I just have to pinch myself because I can't believe I get the pleasure and the privilege of playing with them. And they're so creative and come up with such unique ideas that we're so excited to play with them. And that's kind of our goal for this year. We definitely like plan on gigging and creating with people and collaborating as much as we can. But because we're in such an early stage in our development, we really are intent on solidifying who we are, not just as four separate individuals, but as a band, and what that sounds like and what we're trying to say and what that original music would then develop into. And so we have like all these rehearsals scheduled where we're literally just going to jam. Like, we're going to pick a groove, we're going to pick a melody and just play. And we've done that before. Like, half the time someone would set up their stuff and just start something, and then one by one we all join in and just improv together. And those aren't the things that we're doing on stage yet because we're still, working through that process. But it'll be a lot more of that where we're just like, let's just open it up, see what happens, and see where we naturally lead to your point, to be authentic, and then build from there. And so the hope and the prayer is that we'll continue to do that. We'll make something really awesome and incredible, and then get a chance to share it on stage with our people and record it and tour. We would love to tour when that is feasible and safe and practical. But yeah, we really just want to have fun together. We are all good friends with each other and have gotten so much closer in just a year. Literally, our first gig, the four of us together, was at that Union Stage show in January 2020, and we had such an amazing time. And people were like, "How long have you been playing together?" And I pointed to Ben, and I was like, "This is the second time I'm meeting him." Literally, just I just had started meeting all these people a couple months ago. So yeah, it's been really fun, and I'm so excited to see where that goes and how that will differ from my own solo work as a performing artist.
I'm very excited to see what comes of that, and for we're seeing that some of that separation between you and yourself, because it's a totally different pot of magic to work from when you have other people's creativity going into it. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
We are running probably near the end of time on the interview, so just for the sake of segueing into the song that you wanted to share with our listeners, I know you talked about it before. It's Rock Steady. And so can you tell us a little bit about this song and what its personal meaning is for you and what you hope a listener will kind of gather when they get a chance to hear it, maybe for the first time today?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. Rock Steady. Rock Steady, Be My Rock. parentheses is the full name of the song. And it was inspired by a saying that one of my like best friend has, and she's shared with us over the years many times. And it's that there are some people in your life that are leaves, there are some people that are branches, and there are some people that are roots. And it's important to know the difference. And the idea behind that is not every single person in your life is going to be, foundational to who you are. There are some people that will be there for a little while and serve their purpose, like the leaves on a tree, but come winter or fall, they just, start to fall off. Branches can be a bit sturdier, but, they in a really big storm or if something happens, they can break too. But the roots literally hold the tree up. They literally keep the tree going. And so I loved that idea and I loved playing around with it. And so that was the inspiration behind Rock Steady, Be My Rock. The idea that when I think about the relationships that I want in my life, I want the roots. I want to know that come storms, come gales, come all kinds of different events that life throws at you so unexpectedly from the day you're born until the day you die, I need to know that you will be there. And for those people that will be there, I will do the same in return. But we need to establish that at the beginning before we can proceed. And that's part of why it's the first song. This is setting the expectation before we even start the ride. So I love the song. It was inspired a lot by, kind of Tina Turner rock and roll soul and just heavy Motown and just really in your face rhythms, and the groove is so incredible. And it was really fun to play with.
That's exciting. And it sounds really impactful. So I know that everybody's going to walk away with thinking a little bit harder about their roots after listening to it.
Yeah.
Kemi, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And
Thank you.
I can't tell you how much it means to me that we finally got a chance to see each other face to face-ish.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank everybody for listening to and watching this episode of Capital Groove Presents DC Music Rocks. And you are listening to Rock Steady, Be My Rock by Kemi Adegoroye.
Are you a root that will hold me fast? Or a bough that will break in the smallest gale? Or are you a leaf always prepared to blow away and leave me to stand alone in winter's cold? Rock steady, be my rock. Oh, rock steady, be my rock. We've seen cloudless days and starry nights filled with cool breezes and southern light. But there's a storm on the horizon and the winds are picking up. There's thunder in the distance and the rains are letting up. It's been smooth sailing so far, but now the real test has come. Will you stand by my side or just cut ties and run? rock steady, be my rock. 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 Rock steady, be my rock.
'Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall. I got the grit of the underdog.